You tripled your income doing sales.
What would you say is the biggest way that you've transformed since being here?
Just like every aspect of my life. Last year, just me and my wife trying to get through, survive, warehouse jobs, working like overnight, keep to myself, put in my headphones, stack stuff on a pallet for the rest of my life. Mid-June, finding out that my wife was pregnant, realizing, okay, now it's gonna be 3 of us. When I got into summer sales, just looking for something that would push me in the right direction. My goal was if I made more doing sales, then this is worth it. Working here in Moxie, meeting such successful people, I feel like I've progressed in every single way. I'm a husband, I'm a future father, I'm a son, I'm a friend, I'm a leader at work. Well, I really want to help those people who feel like we just can't be successful. Maybe I'll make 75K, that type of mentality. Help other people break out of that is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
We the top 10, UGK the major, when I play it don't stop.
Rod, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks.
Rodrigo Morote.
That's right.
Yeah, welcome in. We got Isaac Smith on the pod again too.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Good to have you back, brother. Yeah, I think people are pretty disappointed that you're married now, frankly, because every time you would post reels, I'd just get comments on like, Isaac's eyes are so beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Is he single?
I don't see those. That's weird.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Dude, Hayden's been in a mood like the last 24 hours that I've seen him, huh?
After you guys left the last night, I was like, dude, I just didn't feel like on my game. But you know what I said about leaning into how you feel on the doors?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm trying to do right now.
That was good.
Yeah, like still in the
had some like coaching from Cody or what?
Probably maybe, yeah, sure, probably.
Yeah, it's good.
Cody's my therapist, my shrink.
Yeah.
Anyway, dude, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So really what we want to talk about on this episode is how sales has changed your life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I want to know just some about your story. And the cool part is I actually don't know a ton about it. We role played once, right?
Right, like in March last year.
Did that live role play before the summer started. You were living in Atlanta and then sold in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how the summer went and then just kind of the background that made it so impactful.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it was a good summer. I think one of the biggest things that was like my goal and what I tell everyone when I like recruit them and everything is my goal was if I made more doing sales than I was making in the warehouse job that I was working, where I was working like overnight, you know, getting pretty decently paid, but just like killing myself like every night. Then I was like, then this is worth it, right? And then I tripled my income like in 4 months. I was like, okay, like this is where I'm gonna be. Yeah, like it's easy decision for me.
That's awesome.
So it went really well. I don't know, like background of where I got there, I guess, is just Jack Freeman. Isaac recruited him and everything, and he did his first summer in Atlanta 2 years ago now. Yeah, and that's when I kind of got into like knowing what summer sales was. I had kind of heard of it before, not a really big thing in Georgia, at least, right, for recruiting and stuff, right?
Because you're living in Atlanta with your wife.
With my wife, yeah. So like we met on our missions that we served in Salt Lake City.
Cool.
And then she's from California. I'm from Georgia, and we moved to Georgia when we got married.
Cool.
You're about to be dad. I'm actually surprised that she's not here because from my understanding, she could go into labor.
It could be any minute.
At any point.
Dude, what are we doing?
She didn't want to come. I said, do you want to come? And she's like, no,
just in case.
Just in case. I mean, like we need to rush to the hospital, maybe?
I was just waiting for her to be here. And then
dude, that would be epic. Just
hey,
like,
we gotta go.
And the podcast.
Water breaks on the
I gotta go.
Yeah, it's like, all right, we're out.
That's some good clickbait.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, water breaks during podcast.
Life-changing sales season makes water break during podcast.
Gone wrong.
Gone into labor. Yeah.
So we got married like 2 years ago, and we were just I went like from job to job. I worked at Amazon. I worked at a plant company doing deliveries. I worked at the warehouse that I was telling you about.
You work at Quick Trip too?
I worked at Quick Trip,
dude,
for like 4 years, like throughout high school. I love Quick Trip though. That was
QT's
it's a great high school working experience.
I'm sure, man. Sure. It's like working at Chick-fil-A. My brother worked at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
He was going in high school, and like he just like loved it. It was like his favorite thing.
Right. It's like a cultural thing over there in Georgia. Everyone loves Quick Trip.
Dude, QT's the best, man.
QT or racetrack though. I feel like
depends on if it's a new one though.
Yeah. So
bouncing around from job to job.
Yeah, bouncing around from job to job. Like just looking for make ends something meet. That would trying to make ends meet for sure. But just looking for something that would kind of push me in the right direction. I didn't go to school for a very long time after I finished my mission and after I finished high school because I just had no idea what I wanted to do in life. Sure. You know, and I like had multiple different goals and ideas of, you know, like maybe I want to be an engineer. My dad was an industrial engineer, so I was like, I kind of want to do that just because that's all I've known. You know? So I went into like an engineering internship. I was an electrical engineer for a little bit, and I was an electrician's assistant. I've worked everywhere, man. Like I went to Maryland for like 4 months and worked as an electrician's assistant.
While you were dating?
No, this was before.
But you were still dating, right? Oh yeah, you were engaged.
In fact, I flew from Maryland to Los Angeles to surprise my wife, my then girlfriend. Yeah. To propose to her. Like while I was in Maryland, so like I flew over for 2 days and proposed.
Well, wow. So it was just down to try anything. Though.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I was just looking for something that would like make me feel like I was in the right spot, and not just that, but was able to challenge me enough so I could become a better person, not just for myself, but for my wife and my future family and everything.
Cool. From my understanding, you weren't super interested in doing it for quite a while.
Yeah. So that's what
was like the changing point for you.
So Jack was, he did sales in Atlanta, and so I picked him up from like not from the airport. He got dropped off, and then we were just driving around. I was helping him with groceries, and he was just talking to me about it. Over the summer, we hung out a lot. And after he told me like, hey, you should try it out next summer. It'd be fun to, just do it. And I was thinking like, yeah, it'd be fun to hang out with friends and everything, but I don't know if this is something I want. And then I kind of asked him about like, oh, how much does it pay? Stuff like that. Focus on money.
Yeah.
And Jack kind of, he answered the questions, but he mainly wanted to focus on obviously the core values and everything that the person that he's become because of it. Yeah. And that's when I was like, oh, wow, actually, this sounds way better than like a warehouse job or anything. But I make a lot of money at the warehouse. So that was my mindset. And so I told him like, yeah, probably not this summer. That was like December of 2021. So the December right before I did sales. I was like, no, I'll probably just chill, just do the warehouse, maybe switch warehouses, but I'll probably just do that for a while. And then he said, okay, so you're just going to work night shifts like for now? And then that question kind of, I told him, I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And so, but then that got me thinking so much. And I was like,
just kind of like flipped it on you. Like, so you're going to stay in your
straight up
night
like,
shift position
exactly
for a long time.
And
so he didn't mean continue working.
Like that. He wasn't trying to be like, so you're going to be doing that. Yeah.
No. Which is why like that coming from Jack, just the way that he talks. Like,
It's like,
he's
genuinely just like, oh, so you're
going to still work night shifts then?
And it was a great question. That was like, I always tell him, and we talk about it. That is one of the biggest reasons that I changed my mind. And so I told him like, yeah, I'll just do that for a little bit. A few months later, maybe like a month later, I just kept thinking about that over and over. And I was like, I don't want to keep working night shifts. Like as much as it pays the bills, I don't see my wife. Like she works during the day and I worked at night. So like we only saw each other on weekends.
Dang.
I was like, is this worth it? So I told him like, hey, okay, I'll meet with your guy, which was Isaac, right? And so we met, and as like within the first 30 minutes, I could tell I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like this is, I had already decided, like cool. Issa wasn't there, she was working, so like we took the night to think about it and everything. The next day, I was like, yeah, I'm on, like I'm ready.
Yep.
Which was such like a stark contrast because for the longest time you were like didn't.
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least like the information I got from Jack was like, yeah, Rodrigo just like doesn't like see himself doing it. And Jack would say like, dude, I don't know, it's like perfect for him. I don't know. I just don't think he's gonna do it.
He saw the vision, I didn't.
Yeah. So because he's in Atlanta, that's where we're gonna sell. Yeah. It's like
it makes sense.
Yeah.
So you tripled your income from this pretty high paying warehouse job to doing sales, but you were resistant at first.
Yeah.
So what about it made you resistant?
So I think
was it just like a stigma of sales in general, or
it was kind of a little bit of both. I had met a lot of the people that he sold with, and they seemed nice enough. I just couldn't see myself in that environment. You know, I was just like, that's not me. I'm
like not seeing yourself as a salesman or what you would perceive a salesman to have to be.
Exactly. And I felt really, really, and I was like super shy, like super introverted before and everything. And I still feel like I am very introverted, you know.
Welcome to the club, dude.
Yeah. I know. But, and I couldn't see that because whenever I met people during sales, they were just like, hey, how's it going, man? Like super outgoing. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. This is not me. You know, that was just my thought, my limiting belief for myself, you know? So I thought like, I just want to keep to myself, put in my headphones, stack stuff on a pallet and do that for the rest of my life. Like, that's
so really a comfort thing then from that standpoint.
Yeah. It was very scary to step out of my comfort zone and like, actually do something. But, you know, everything that Isaac was telling me, like obviously the biggest things were, you know, it's similar to how we both served missions, and like it's a kind of a similar environment if you think about it. It's going back to knocking doors and talking to people you don't know. And I remember thinking I felt the most like empowered and the best version of myself when I was knocking doors and talking to people that I didn't know. So I was like, I might as well try it, you know, like this could be good. But on top of that, everything that he mentioned, the core values, the actual opportunity that you have of working here in Moxie, meeting people, such successful people, real estate, you know, all that type of stuff that you can't really get anywhere else. I really like that too. And obviously the money, that was just like a really, really big hook for me, you know?
Sure.
Because I just want to support my family and like give them the best opportunity.
Which is amazing. And the tipping point though was because you knew the money would be good previously when you were like kind of rejecting the offer basically. But the tipping point from what I'm hearing is like realizing the personal development aspect, being able to challenge yourself in different ways. Like once that clicked, and you know, the person that you'd become because of how we focus on our core values.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, okay, cool. So like, the money is awesome. And now this other part makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I think, you know, just looking back, reflecting a little bit, one of the biggest things that has always kind of, I don't want to say scared me, but just intimidated me is like, I don't know if I can do this. Like no one is like me, you know? And that's always been something that is just kind of like big for me. Like I want to be around people like me, you know? Like, and then just like diving a little bit more into Moxie, I see like there's a lot more diversity than I thought there was. And then now being able to recruit my own team as well, being able to help other people see the same things, same like the way that I was seeing it, helping them transform into having that mindset of like, oh, I can do it too. You know, I think it's kind of a limiting belief. It's really bad, like a really bad mindset that we kind of put on ourselves, but it's something that's so easy to get out of. And I like, that's one of my biggest goals as a team lead and like recruiting people. I really want to help those people and it's not like whether you're a minority or not. And I feel like this is just kind of a weird topic, but
I think it's great though.
I think sometimes we feel like we just can't be successful, and it's just like not something that we're allowed to be. You just have that like limiting belief. And like, oh, like maybe I'll make $75K for the rest of my life a year, you know, like that type of mentality.
Sure.
But being able to help other people break out of that is what I want to do, like for the rest of my life. You know,
so is that why you describe it as like life changing? Because it shifted that mindset for you and like really put you back in the driver's seat of your own destiny, basically, right?
Yeah.
Because even so, I'm listening to this and thinking like, okay, I don't know if I ever had that same. I can't relate to that same feeling of like I'm a minority here and tie the limiting beliefs I had to that in any way. However, though, for my own experience, like my grandparents were immigrants, and my grandfather was an immigrant from the Netherlands, and my parents aren't super well off, and so I was kind of thinking to myself like, I don't know if I deserve to, like, I want to make a lot of money and be wealthy and give back to my family, but I don't know how to do this. Like I could feel all of those, especially when I was like poised to go make quite a bit of money. I could feel all these limiting beliefs like money's bad. You don't deserve this. No, what are you going to do when you get it? You don't know how to handle money. Nobody in your family does, you know, and you've never been taught this. So like all these mindsets that were very down regulating, that was just my version of that. And
Yeah.
it is so freeing and empowering to say like, man, if these mindsets have been broken for me, and I can see like how free you feel, and how like the world, the opportunity that's at your fingertips because of breaking those limiting beliefs. Like I would, if I could serve others to have that same outcome for them my whole life, I would do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, just wanted to point out that that's like, I think it's really common in this job, because
Yeah.
a lot of our reps will come do door-to-door sales because of their situation financially.
Yeah.
And most of the time they haven't grown up in a household like where they've seen that prosperity in that way.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it is about breaking those mindsets and freeing yourself up to be in the driver's seat of your own destiny. You know?
Yeah. For me, looking back too, it's like, I don't think I like felt like I could go do this thing, or like I could go make a ton of money. But like looking back, I was totally primed, but I just needed the right like coaches and mentors and like, path. Cause up until like coming here, I was just kind of like a go with the flow kind of guy. Like, yeah, I'm just going to like try to take the best opportunity and like work hard, whatever.
Sure.
But then like coming to Moxie, like transform that. And like, you know, we teach all about like taking control, and like you are the author, you are the creator of your life.
Yeah.
And so like it was being here, being in like the systems, being around like all the people that talked about that incessantly, and all the people who had done it really well, that like put me into the driver's seat, and it like completely transformed my life.
Yeah.
So
amazing, dude.
What would you say is like the biggest way that you've transformed since being here? Because it's really only been like a year since you signed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So over the last year, how have you transformed?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just like every aspect of my life, I just been able to,
in every single way.
Right. No, honestly, it's crazy. I just have, I was able to identify my different roles in life. Whereas before, like last year, all I thought was like, it's just me and my wife, and like just trying to get through, just trying to survive, And now I see like, okay, I'm a husband, I'm a future father, I'm a son, I'm a friend, I'm a leader at work, I'm a leader in church, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing like I need to work on all of these things separately.
Yeah.
And like at the same time. Whereas before I was just like doing one thing to try to like become better, So that's what I mean by like, I feel like I've gotten better or progressed in every single way and transformed in every single way, just because I've been able to like separate my roles, look at everything, and actually work on every one of those things individually.
That's cool.
I think the mindset switch that you were talking about, I kind of just like a complete different paradigm, right? Like last year when I signed on, I thought it'd be lofty and it'd be like crazy if I got 60K in these 4 months. And now I'm like, if I don't make 6 figures this summer, then something went wrong. Like it's
like terribly wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's just like, I never would have thought that I was going to be in this position, and it was another thing, like when we went to Hawaii and we were just walking down the street, my wife and I were just walking down the streets of Honolulu, just like looking at everything. We went to go get some
after the team leader retreat,
right before we got there early, so we could, hang out with some friends and everything. We were walking down the streets. We were just getting some food and like looking around. I just took a few minutes and I sat there with Itza and I was like, did you ever imagine yourself being in this position? And it's just crazy. Like I was thinking, I'm 24 years old and, my wife is 23 and I'm like, I never thought we would make a trip to Hawaii by ourselves, like at this age, like that. And it's just one of those things, like growing up, I always saw Hawaii as like a huge thing. Like, oh, people like super rich people go to Hawaii for like vacations when they're old. You know?
Sure.
And that's what I thought. And,
or
and
if they are from an Asian country.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so I was just like sitting there and just realizing I have completely changed my life, and in a way where like I've seen things that I previously thought were impossible for me at this time in my life, and I've just gone and done them. And that's kind of like a high, I love that feeling to be able to hit a certain goal or hit something, and be able to say like, I was not able to do that before and now I can, and so
proved yourself of what you previously thought was maybe impossible or out of reach. And then doesn't that just make it exhilarating to think like, if I just did this and thought it was impossible before, like what else could I do?
Right, exactly.
And who else could I help have that shift too?
Exactly. Just endless possibilities.
So when I was 21 years old, I had big dreams of a few things. Becoming a millionaire by the time I was 30, that was a big goal of mine. I wanted to own my own business, and I wanted to create financial freedom through investing in real estate, startups, any other type of vehicle that would give me passive income so that I could really provide for my family and my parents in a significant way because of how much they sacrificed for me growing up. I didn't grow up in the most well-off household, and so I really wanted to create a life for my family that they could be comfortable. I'm a grandchild of immigrants, and I had a lot of people in my life that came before me that have sacrificed a ton to create the good things that I have. I wanted to create financial freedom so that I could give back and serve significantly. I thought I was going to do that by, first off, playing football in the NFL. I obsessed over football growing up, but then I quickly got cut from my college team upon arriving, basically. So then I thought I was going to do that by getting into a prominent business school and excelling there, and then, getting a high-paying job out of college. And I didn't get into any of the business schools that I applied for, and there were more than one. So I had some, learning disabilities and a couple other things that felt like held me back in that way. Bottom line, it just didn't work. So after all the failed attempts to make money and try to achieve my dreams early, I was basically desperate and just really didn't think that it would all work out. I was doing a bunch of these hourly jobs and barely making ends meet and donating plasma, all the things you do when you're a poor college kid. I had a friend approach me and say that he had made $50,000 doing a sales job during the summer in between semesters. And he was a really well-known and highly prominent athlete. I had grown up hearing about how good he was at football. And so we became friends after I got home from a mission for my church. I just trusted him. So I looked into it. I ended up doing this sales job thinking that it would just be a better way to hold me over while I really figured out how I was going to provide financially for my family and really make a big dent in my dreams. Fast forward a few years later, I was with the same company doing that job over and over again while I was going to school, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now coaching and teaching other people how to do the same thing. It completely changed my life in a way that I did not expect, learning how to persuade and influence people at a high level because you practice that day in and day out. That translated over into every other relationship and aspect of my life that I care more about than just sales. And then obviously financially being able to get well ahead of all of my peers and the other people who were not willing to make those sacrifices of doing that sales job during the summer in the off months of school. And then fast forward even more ahead, I was able to become a millionaire by 26 and have a multiple $1 million net worth by the time I was 30, upwards of $10 million plus, and invest in real estate early on in my 20s, be able to give back and help pay for mission trips and do service opportunities that I just otherwise wouldn't have had. But what I'm most proud of is being able to give my family, my parents, my wife, my immediate family the life that they just really never had growing up. Because I think deep down, we all want to be the type of people that when all is said and done, we actually have made a difference in other people's lives. And I feel like that's actually really the deep result of what this job ended up doing for me in a way that I just did not expect. Long story short, I'm obsessed with teaching the same things to other people. And since I have gotten to management and now I'm a partner in our company, I've been able to work with upwards of over 1,000 sales reps who are young, ambitious, college age kids mostly, who start doing this job just to pay for school, but end up finding out that it's highly impactful for every other aspect of their life. So right now we are hiring and we have limited spots available to take on of people. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description of this video or in my bio. You can check that out, apply and see if you're a good fit or a candidate for this job. We have personality profiles that can match you with income and earning potential that is very much historically accurate of people that have gone in our program before. And if you take the leap of faith and at least learn about whether this could be a good fit for you, I think you're going to be not only really impressed, but if your results are even half as good as what everyone else has gone through this program has experienced, the only problem that you'll have is that one, you didn't know about this sooner, and two, that you didn't sign up and try to do it yesterday. All right, so give it a shot. Check out the link in my bio, and I'll see you guys in the rest of the episode.
Yeah. Like just the other day, we were on the phone, and Rodrigo was like, "Dude, I never thought that I would be in this position, like going and interviewing people and like hiring them, and like being this type of person for them." Yeah, like you obviously have like changed a lot of like your self perception of like how you view yourself and like what you're capable of.
Yeah.
What I love hearing too, just in even the way that you're talking, you're saying it explicitly, but also just the underlying tone is like how the gratitude behind it all.
Absolutely.
And I find it interesting that that's actually one of the first things to go if you start having a consistent track record of success and making more money than what you thought was possible before. It's like typically that feeling starts to fade away and is replaced by some version of entitlement if we don't watch ourselves, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's for me, one of the reasons why I feel most grateful to be in our system too. And to help teach it consistently is because I'm constantly reminding myself too, is like, you know, you really, I just turned 30 and if I look back, there's been times where I'm like, I start feeling like entitled. But if I look back to like the 21-year-old me and my financial goals, or even when I was a kid, I used to read like, all my friends would make fun of me because I'd read like finance books when I was in high school. I'd be like freshman or sophomore in high school, and at lunch, and go get a second workout in while everyone was eating, and then I would read a personal finance book because I just didn't know what to do. But I for sure wanted to.
Said you were a weird guy.
I was very strange. Yeah, I just didn't. I was like, I know I want to make things different financially for my family. I don't know how though. So, but I thought I had big goals, and they all kind of were based around like the benchmark of by the time I was 30, and then those quickly just started changing. And so, you know, after I saw what was possible, but why I love the system is just because it constantly reminds you of what's most important. Actually, what you just referred to, your roles, things that have nothing to do with money. Money is obviously going to be a big part of kind of lubricating the process of success and being able to serve at a greater capacity. But if you're not service oriented or grateful, then it could be really corrupting. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Just as you continue to grow and as you have a track record of success, like just very much encourage you to not lose that feeling you have of just like awe and wonder even, you know, like we still go every time we go to Hawaii too. And this is, you know, 10 years in a row of going to a different island in Hawaii. And, I try to do the same thing. Like just be in awe at the beauty of it all and how amazing the opportunity is. It's like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's sad too. Like I've seen guys too, like, who I had like connections with before they even got into sales, and they seemed really happy. They were on track with like good things in their life, and they got into sales and they started doing really well. And then they've made like public comments of like, it's all bull crap. Like it's all on you. No one's going to help you. And they just like take all the credit for themselves. Yeah. And they just like, there's no gratitude. It's just like you're in charge. Like, and although there's like truth in that, it's like, yeah, like you have to go make things happen. You can't wait. Yeah. They just totally discredit like all the people along the way or like all the opportunities that were given them.
So interesting. It's so common, huh?
It is common. Yeah. Especially when you get up into those like higher levels of success.
Totally, dude. Well, and that's where it becomes the most dangerous is when you actually become so consistent in getting the things that you set out to get. Like it's very easy to think that you were the only one that did that, and that you might not be standing on the shoulders of like giants that came before you. And I didn't sleep enough last night to go into this deeply because I'm going to get too emotional, but like, that's how I feel. That's why I mentioned like my grandfather, he's in the hospital right now actually. And the thing that I'm constantly thinking back to is like, you know, I can't blame anyone in my family for not teaching me how to handle money because they were just trying to do things better than the people that came before them. But if I go have financial success and build a lot of wealth, which I fully plan on continuing to do, and I don't do that in a way that actually gives back and makes my kids better, like better people, not just like better off, then I will have done like them a great disservice for the sacrifices that they made. You know? Absolutely. So yeah, that's like everyone forgets that though. I was listening to Brad Wilcox talk. I don't remember what medium it was, like maybe a podcast or something this last week, but he said something really interesting. He said, in the danger of personal development is that we become too focused on ourselves being the people that gain the success and not looking outward to see who has helped us along the way. Oh yeah. Which is kind of an interesting thought, right? Yeah. It's like we are all about personal development, but I think the way that we do it is so interesting because it does focus on, it's not just being about successful for you and for like the glory of it or the pride. It's actually, there is no reason to be successful if not for other people.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of cool thought. We got pretty deep there, but yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
no, I think that's like that's a really great insight. And one of the biggest things that I've seen, and I totally agree. I really hope that I can maintain that level of gratitude that I have to this day. I just feel like everything that I do and everything that happens to me is just like helping me be more grateful, because like when I recently talking about switching to talking about recruiting.
Yeah. As you're building your team.
Yeah, as I'm building my team. Yeah, one of the guys, like when we in Hawaii, when we were talking, I think Braden Connor was given that training with Adam, and they were talking about recruiting, and then they said like 2 minutes or 5 minutes, text everyone or call anyone you can, see how many appointments you can set up to start interviews, right? And so in that time, I texted one of my really good friends from like growing up in church. He was in one of the youth groups that we were in, and he texted me back saying like, actually, yeah, I'm like super interested in that. I've been thinking about doing some type of sales in some way, but I just didn't know what to do. And ever since I recruited him and he started being on my team, he's recruited 3 other guys.
Cool.
And he just texted me like, oh, by the way, I was just playing football with this one guy, and I think we're going to do an interview this weekend.
Cool.
Like that, you know? And I'm just like so grateful for the opportunity to be able to have helped him get to where he is. He hasn't even sold yet, and he's already super excited to go out. And I know he's going to kill it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just like super, super grateful that like I'm not the only person helping. Like I helped him get to this point, and he's like helping me grow my team, and he's helping me learn so many things too. It's just like, I think as long as I consistently see that I'm not the only one helping other people, right? Like even people that are less experienced than me or younger than me can definitely help me out in like so many ways, and
I love it.
Bless me in different ways of my life too.
Yeah.
So it's super important to remember, I think.
I love it, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
What other aspects of your journey have been kind of like hallmarks for you? We've got, when do we need to finish up by 40?
Yeah,
45?
probably in like 10ish minutes.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, like if you could look back on just your experience so far, maybe even from the summer, like where were those moments that you had a shift in mindset, and they were kind of just pivotal, like building blocks for the success that you've had so far?
Yeah, I can think of a couple. One of the biggest ones was like mid-June, finding out that my wife was pregnant.
Cool.
That was one of there was a huge paradigm shift for me, you know, just realizing, okay, now it's going to be 3 of us, you know, like that's a completely different game now. I'm not just trying to help us survive. I'm helping her be as healthy as possible.
Stakes are higher now.
Baby. Yeah, exactly. And so that was one of the big shifts in mentality that, I mean, right after that, I had my best month of the summer. I think
Cool.
like July was my best month. So just thinking back, that was definitely a paradigm shift for me. And then just working really closely with Isaac. That every time I saw him sell, train, just whatever experience that I had with him, I realized like, oh, wow, I can do so much. Like, I just felt so much smarter, more experienced, more prepared whenever I just listened to him do anything. Like I would shadow him, or he would shadow me, or I would go and like hear training, something like that. He was just one of the biggest influences that I had during the summer. And I just looked at him and like, I kind of want to be like that. That's awesome. You know, I want to eventually get to the point where I can help that many people and still be that successful, and, you know, just be a cool guy, you know?
Pretty cool. First and foremost, a cool guy.
Yeah,
that's how I feel as well. Every time I see Isaac do something, especially like publicly and leading people, I'm like, gosh dang it, dude, I got to level up now.
He's good at what he does.
So good at what he does.
I don't know. Just faking it. Just pretending.
Oh yeah, just making it.
I don't know, maybe like from an outside perspective, what do you think was like the biggest shift that you saw in me?
Over the last year, or just during the summer?
During the summer, whenever, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think we were talking about it a few minutes ago, but like the guys who I see prepare really well for the summer always do better. Rodrigo was like, you were ready to start even before your start date. Like you were just like anxious to do it. But that came from like preparation. A lot of guys go into the summer like a little bit scared, a little bit tentative, but like, and you probably had those same feelings,
Yeah, absolutely.
but you were like anxiously engaged in the trainings and like preparing yourself.
Put in the work.
But on top of that too, like the guys who have a reason outside of themselves, and I think that's what we were talking about, is like when your why isn't just because like you want to go have success and create that for yourself, but like you have other outside reasons. And I think like you've taken to heart like making your wife and, you know, your future kids and your family and helping other people like your biggest reasons. And that'll push you way further than like just working for yourself ever will. And when you can have that perspective too, like you'll go on to help way more people. And it's a lot more like exciting and motivating. It keeps you happier.
For sure.
Yeah, I think like the biggest shift that I saw in you is that you completely changed your mindset on what you were capable of. And that, I mean, that's what happened to me. It's probably what happened to Hayden. It's probably what happened to like the majority of people that come and work with us. It's like they thought one thing was possible and then something entirely new that they never even imagined happened.
Crazy.
And then they completely changed their perspective and like paradigm of what they can go out and accomplish. Like I remember I set goals. I was it was in Mexico in 2019. I was setting goals for my life of like a year later, 3 years later, 4 or 5 years later, and 10 years later. And I think in my 5-year goal, which would be like 2 years from now, I wanted to be making $80,000 at like a job that I had gotten after I graduated. And I made more than that my first summer right after. And I was like, oh, I have to completely change what my goals are. And they're, you know, they're still in line. Like I want to keep educating myself and I want to keep like leading people and I want to become better and I want to be like gospel centered and family centered, principle centered. But I was like, I can do more.
Yeah.
But a lot of that comes from like, you know, the perspectives of like, well, there's somebody else helping me. There's higher powers, but also like I'm on a mission to like help other people. And I think that's like, I don't know. I think that's what I saw in you. I remember sitting down in like a performance review with both you and your wife. I was like, how's the summer going? It was like a month in. You're like, this is amazing. It's life changing. And I think your wife said something like, it's nice to be around people that have a vision for themselves. Because she said like, I grew up in a place where that didn't exist. People didn't know if they'd make it past 18.
Yeah.
Dang.
And like, I don't know, that was cool.
Grew up in
That was
East
cool
LA,
for me.
so like
Sheesh, dude.
A lot of them probably saw themselves like in jail.
yeah,
Like they're the people that had
just,
gone
like,
before them.
dead end life.
Yeah.
You know, that's. I don't think she expected much out of her life before she served a mission, and so that's like one of the big things that you say is like you wanted to give your wife a life that she never had, and
Totally.
I super align myself with that exact same like idea. It's just like she never thought she'd ever go to Hawaii, like that type of stuff. Like, and just being able to give that to her is just super fulfilling for me. Yeah.
That's huge, dude. Yeah, I talk about that all the time. Like when I was dating Sarah and we were talking about getting married, every day I'd write her name on my hand and I would cross out one letter for every sale. Because I knew that if I got 5 minimum a day, then that was going to be setting us up pretty good that next year. You should be sorry, Siri. But it's interesting just how we'll always do more for others than we will for ourselves. You know, like when you feel that duty and like obligation to provide. And yeah, I would always think in my mind, it was like, Sarah Peterson is not going to be thrilled to be married to the guy that just is going to give up at 4 sales today.
Right.
You know, like what can I be that's going to be like the reason why her life is just completely different than what it would be had I not been in it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. Dude, that's powerful about your wife and just her perspective on life and how that's changed just by having this one opportunity. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's way cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's sick.
If you were to give one piece of advice to somebody getting ready for their first summer, maybe it's something you did, maybe it's something you would change, but what advice would you give to that first year rep?
I would say kind of like what you were talking about, just hitting the ground running right now, like preparing as much as you can. I think every minute that I invested into watching videos, training in any aspect I could with Isaac and Jack was money in my bank account at the end of the summer. You know, like every single minute that I invested. I remember watching your videos so much that when I actually saw you in person, I was like, this guy, like, I didn't even realize you were like a real person. And I was like, I've seen this guy so many times in the videos, you know?
That's funny, dude.
Yeah. Like,
it's always really awkward. Like I'll see like reps that I didn't realize if they've signed and I'll like see them at the gym and they're like watching a video of me doing training while they're lifting and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude,
I remember there's been times I've been at the gym and I have like AirPods in, I'm listening to like a podcast or you or something, and then I see it and I'm like, this is kind of weird.
This is really
I think I'm gonna turn this off.
Well, Isaac has his own podcast now, so
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, welcome to the
Mr. Schmitty.
I don't know what persuasion people
Purpose Driven
Persuasion podcast.
Persuasion.
Yes, persuasion.
Hey, that's a great name. I wonder if it's taken.
Yeah, it's taken, copyrighted probably.
But yeah, that's what I would say. Just prepare as much as you can. I mean, you're never going to be ready for the actual summer as a rookie. I feel like it's always going to hit you really hard, but making the learning curve smaller and shorter is like training every single day.
Totally.
As much as you can, you know, until it gets like annoying. Like I would be driving with my wife, just taking her to work or something, and I'd just be like, "Hey, how you doing today?" You know, just like,
Yeah.
And she would automatically know, like, okay, we're gonna role play, right?
play.
Can you turn Hayden off, please?
Yeah, exactly.
I know my wife thinks that she can do the pitch.
Right.
I know it.
Dude,
She wanted to.
Some
the
are-
wives mimicking the pitch is
Right?
actually really cool. I find it
super
very
funny.
endearing. Yeah.
Rodrigo said the other day that one time he was on the doors talking to somebody, and you know he's talking about like the successful people here, and the guy was like, you know, or no, it wasn't on
No,
the
it was
doors.
my
It was
barber.
your barber.
Yeah,
and
he's getting my fade right.
and he's like, whatever they say, do it, even if it's
I
crazy.
was talking about Isaac. I was
Well,
like,
yeah, well, we don't have to say
this
that.
leader that's like super successful. And he's like, you need to do whatever he does, no matter how crazy it is. You got to follow him and do what he does.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, okay.
And I keep bringing that up because it's funny, and it's not to be like cocky or arrogant, but like I feel the same way. Like I have Tim and Hayden and
Right.
Jason, and like if they say something, like I'm just gonna go do it because they've done what I want to do. And I think that's something you've done really well too. And like
Absolutely.
that's why you've been successful in building your team and like in your mindset. That's why you have had such a big change is like anybody who goes out and they just listen and do every single thing that the person who's leading them says, they will experience the same change. They just have to go and do it. And like the guys who like experience a partial change or
because they're not doing it.
their experience isn't as what they thought it was. It's because they're not applying every single thing that they say.
them.
And going along the same lines, one of the biggest things that Isaac and I have talked about, and Jack too, is just like over the summer, if you are not 100% committed, if you haven't like burned all your ships for like before, basically like if you're going through the summer and saying like, oh, well, I'm doing this, but if I don't do well, you know, I always have the warehouse job or I always have Chick-fil-A or whatever, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you're going through and just thinking not completely there, then you're not going to be successful. Like at all.
Or you won't experience the full extent of the success that you
That's
could.
what I was going to say. You're going to be a percentage of the success that you could be.
100%.
I've had buddies that have come out and
So
made
big.
$30,000-$40,000 and you know all their friends think that's awesome, and I think they to an extent probably think that's great, but they also know deep down that they could have done so much better had they just like done everything and just fully committed.
Fully commit.
And to that point, as we finish up here, what's really interesting is like, so you said if I just do what they say, then like I'll be successful because like that's what I want. And you're saying that about Isaac, and it's interesting that you know I tell Isaac and the guys this all the time that like you guys should be if I'm competent at all, you should be doing things at least twice as fast, which is completely what Isaac has done, if not faster, than I did. Because the advice I'm giving is from the perspective of the failure and the struggle that hopefully you guys won't ever have to actually experience in the same way. You'll have your own versions of it, right? But like the advice is actually on the other side of that failure.
Yeah.
So if anything, if you just go do that, then you fast track all the stumbling blocks along the way, and you're kind of just in new territory where you can figure out the next phases. And the real only struggle you should have is just getting rid of the pride in yourself that it takes to like actually trust and do what you're being told, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that can be hard for some people.
Yeah, like I work with a couple leaders right now that are they've really struggled to level up recently, and you know they're like, yeah, this is just so hard. But as I talk to them, I'm like, the reason it's hard is not because the work is actually that hard. It's because changing yourself is really hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, if Isaac can do it.
Yeah.
I'm dumb, dude.
But what's cool about this, Rod, is like if Isaac is doing things twice as fast, if not faster, than I was able to do them.
Yeah.
In everything, earnings, net worth, personal progression, like all of that stuff, building teams, then you will be able to do them faster than Isaac has because of now like the conglomerate of the shared experience and having documented that, right?
Right.
So if that's not happening, then like that's what we should always be doing, is questioning ourselves rather than the processes. First, at least.
Yeah, it's just down to that, like getting rid of your pride.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but one of my favorite stories from 7 Habits is when Covey's talking about working with his son in cleaning the yard. We'll finish up with this.
Yeah.
He wants the yard green and clean, and he just can't get his son to actually start taking action on it. So his son agrees that he's going to do it. They come up with the game plan, and then week after week, his son's not doing anything that he said he was going to do. And so his dad comes up to him and he's like, how's the yard coming, son? Knowing that it's not going well.
Right.
And his son says something along the lines of, he just like breaks down in tears and is like, it's so hard, Dad. And so Covey and Stephen in his frustration is kind of like, what's so hard? It's just like picking up some trash, basically. Right. And then he checks himself and he says, but I knew what was hard. Managing yourself is hard.
Right.
It's not the picking up the trash. It's not the keeping the yard clean. It's not the green, watering it. It's managing yourself. That's what's hard. So,
amen, brother.
To the extent you can, always be in a humble state to actually do what has worked in the past and then build on that. It's like the hardest part of that is just getting rid of the blockers in your own pride.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Cool. Dude, this has been awesome. We should do this again.
Sure.
Yeah. Thanks for setting this up, Isaac.
Thanks for coming, Rodrigo.
Thanks for having me.
Rodrigo, Morote, Bjorn.
Thanks for being here.
Shout out to Bjorn.
What a guy.
The best guy.
Yeah, however you want to edit this, dude. We can keep my
Bjorn
comments in or not. I don't know. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Isaac?
Yeah.